So one of Donald Trump's talking points for a while now has been that he wants to see drug dealers get the death penalty. This has actually been a conservative talking point for a long time, but Donald Trump really doubles down, and he always talks about how he spoke with dictators and how they told him they acted fast and they acted quick and they don't have a problem at all. It should actually terrify any reasonable person, but take a look at this clip.
You know, when I met with President Xi of China, I said, "Do you have a drug problem?" No, we have no drug problem. Why is that? Quick trial. I said, "Tell me about a quick trial." When they catch the seller of drugs, right, the purveyor of drugs, they immediately give them, the drug dealers, they immediately give them a trial. Takes one day. At the end of that day, if they're guilty, which they always are, according to people that study this, I don't think anybody has never been guilty. Within one day, that person is executed. They execute the drug dealers. They have zero drug problem. Zero. They have zero drug problem in Singapore and other places. Instead, we set up blue ribbon committees made of dilettantes from all over the country.
Now look, I would love to see the drug problem tackled and taken care of more than anybody. I have saw the toll that it's taken on my part of the world. I have saw the damage it's done. I saw the lives that were lost because of it. And if I thought Donald Trump was really serious about rolling up his sleeves and fixing the drug problem, I would stop and pay attention to the guy. But the problem is, every time Donald Trump opens his mouth, it's always projection. And a report came out just a couple of months ago that while Donald Trump was in office, the White House was pretty much a pill mill. Take a look at this clip from Ben Meiselas, and then we're going to come back and talk more about it.
Under Donald Trump, the White House medical unit was a pill mill. Thousands of Ambien, Provigel per month. Worse, a clinic that does not typically do procedures with moderate sedation. They sure do have at the White House a prodigious amount of morphine, fentanyl, versed, and ketamine. That's how Dr. Nick Mark put it. But this comes from a new Inspectors General report. Here it is. Right here, folks. This was released very recently. It's called Evaluation of the Department of Defense Internal Controls related to patient eligibility and pharmaceutical management within the National Capital Region Executive Medicine Services. And so what happened was in 2018, the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General, the OIG hotline, received complaints alleging that a senior medical officer assigned to the White House medical unit was engaging in improper medical practices. Now, the report focused on how ineligible White House staff was receiving all of these really hard drugs that I was mentioning at the outset of this video. But it also just talks to the type of drugs that were being prescribed and the waste as well. I mean, when you talk about the Provigil, you're talking about $100,000 worth that was prescribed while Donald Trump was in office. It's notable as well when you look at what it's there to treat, actually. I found this somewhat ironic. Neuroprotective benefits, aging, and related health concerns. For age-related diseases, certain side effects with brain and cognitive functions, and actually one of the adverse effects are rashes as well, and kind of scabs and lesions. And, you know, we did, in fact, see Donald Trump with those recently as well.
You know, my dad one time told me that anytime someone says to you, "I hate a thief, I can't stand a thief," if they have to tell you that every few minutes, there's a good chance that person will rob you blind. If someone has to always talk about how they hate liars, they can't stand a liar, if they have to tell you that all the time, they're probably the one pumping you full of shit. And every time Donald Trump comes out really hard after a certain group of people or a certain idea, it always circles back to bite him in the ass that, well, when you were president, you had all these drugs flowing through the White House. And this is the guy that actually says he wants Joe Biden drug tested if they debate. Take a look at this.
You
that
have
he's
said
weaponized
you'll
the
debate
Justice
him
Department.
anywhere, anytime. Do you think he'll agree to any debates?
Anywhere, anytime.
Do you think
You
he'll
think?
agree?
I don't think so, but I hope he does.
Do you think he-
what happened is, that white stuff that they happened to find, which happened to be cocaine in the White House. I don't know. I think something's going on there, because I watched his State of the Union, and he was all jacked up at the beginning. By the end, he was fading fast. There's something going on there. I want to debate, and I think debates with him, at least, should be drug tested. I want to
Mr. President, are you
debate.
suggesting President Biden's using cocaine?
I don't know what he's using, but that was not. Hey, he was higher than a kite. And by the way, it was the worst. It was the worst address I've ever seen. State of the Nation. I'll tell you, State of the Union. That's not State of the Union, because he doesn't represent us properly. That I can tell you. But he's obviously being helped some way, because most of the time he looks like he's falling asleep, and all of a sudden he walked up there and did a poor job. But he was all jacked up.
He wants Joe Biden to be drug tested, huh? Well, take a look at this next clip from Ben Meiselas, and as you're watching it, ask yourself, would Donald Trump be willing to take a drug test? Roll the clip.
I mean, let's just take a look at the data right here. I mean, this is a public record from the official Inspector General report. This isn't some Photoshop document. This is a government document, and it's just a sample size. It's just a small sample of the types and amounts of drugs that were being prescribed during the Trump years in office. And you may be saying, well, what about the other years? Well, there wasn't an Office of Inspector General report done because there were complaints during the Trump years about the rampant drug use and that there were problems. That's what prompted this report, and it takes them a long time to ultimately release this report. But take a look at this. So the drug, look at the amount of fentanyl going through the White House. Look at the amount of ketamine and morphine and Provigil going through the White House right here. I mean, you see, I've highlighted there all of the fentanyl. I mean, this is massive, massive dosages and massive amounts just during this very short period of time. This is just a sample page of just a few months. All these drugs are being prescribed in the White House.
So he doesn't really want to debate Joe Biden. This is all political theater. We've been saying here at the Midas Touch Network for a long time, we've been predicting that Donald Trump will not debate Joe Biden. Hell, he wouldn't even debate his own fellow Republicans. But he's doing this now, and he's demanding drug tests, and he's throwing his little temper tantrums. So later in the year, when they really happen, and Joe Biden says, okay, I'm ready to debate, he can say, oh no, if you're not going to debate me on my watch, then I'm not going to debate you. And his crowd will go right along with it because they don't understand how governments and elections work. But I'm not at all shocked to learn that those drugs was flowing through the White House when he was in office, because I have saw what drugs have done to my part of the world, and I cannot count the times that the people in my part of the world who came out shouting against drugs the loudest, later you learned that the drugs was flowing right through their places of business. And when I was growing up, I would hear all the stories that later on was pretty much proven to be true and accepted as fact, that the churches we grew up in was built on our granddaddy's moonshine, that they were all in it together. Now, there's a lot of people in my part of the world that will get mad at me for saying that now, because I'm saying it in context of Donald Trump, and you can't blaspheme against him. But you take Donald Trump out of this equation, and people in my part of the world will say, yeah, he's telling the truth, because we all knew it and we were saying it for years. The ones that comes out rallying the hardest against something are trying to look righteous. They're trying to look like they're the good guy in the story, and they're not. I mean, watch Breaking Bad, watch Better Call Saul. I mean, just break it, get it down on your level if you have to understand it. It's every accusation is a confession. It's all projection, and it's all political theater. But it's sad, because we really do have a drug problem. We really do have a drug problem that needs tackled. And we have a president named Joe Biden who is working for us. Meanwhile, we have a wannabe in chief that is just making a mockery out of the whole thing and not doing a damn thing to help anyone.